Hello,
Hello.
how's it going?
Not bad. How are you?
Good. Looks like the weather should maintain this week, maybe.
Yeah, it's looking like it. Pretty springy out there.
Yeah, not too bad.
Good evening.
Hello.
How are y'all?
Good.
All right.
Where's my? There it is. Hmm, The 6. 7, 8. Okay. I think we got everybody. Looks like it. Cool. All right. Those of you that did miss Saturday were able to watch the video and did it all make sense to you?
I didn't get the chance to watch the last hour that I missed, so I do need to do that.
Okay. I think most of it, I know 20 minutes of it was just continue working on the wiki page. So you can probably fast forward some of that. I think we went over the um, traversing the command line, like command line key terminal stuff, words, Um, yeah, so you can check that out. I know DU and Heath and somebody else, I think, were sick. How do y'all feel?
I'm feeling much better. Just needed to rest a little bit.
Okay. Everything's making sense code wise?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool.
There are
Okay.
also the notes that I put out there.
Yeah, super helpful. Thank you for that.
No problem.
How about you, D? I saw you pop up there.
I'm not operating at 100% yet, so I'm still a class behind, but I will get caught up hopefully today and tomorrow and Friday.
Okay. Well, if you need help, definitely reach out. We can take some time and go over stuff or whatever. All right. Well, let's get into today then. The homework CSS stuff. How y'all feeling about that? Any questions? Pretty good.
I have one question. You know how I was babbling about like the thing that have the period before and some
Mhm.
do and some don't. What's the thing called? So I understand that the classes have to have the period. What's the other stuff called that don't have the period before it?
Just the elements, like the
Yeah.
paragraph and all that stuff.
Oh, that's just called an element.
Yeah, and actually, if you can see my screen here, it kind of shows you. So this it's called a selector, but that selector could be like the dot and then a class name or whatever. That's just going
Hmm.
to be like what selects the element that's going to get changed. So if it was a p tag or something, we'll call it a
Uh-huh.
tag sometimes. I think element is the proper term for it. Like it's an
Okay.
HTML element, so p tag or h1 or image or whatever like that. And we'll
Okay.
definitely get into more of that right now.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
There's also the type selectors and the ID selectors.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, we'll get deep into the weeds on it all. It'll be good. Okay. I'm putting you on my left screen, so if I'm not looking at you, it's just because I'm looking over here. Don't worry. Okay. Anything else before we jump into this madness? All good. Cool. Okay. So this is pretty long. What we're going to go over. We're going to skip some of it, and I'll give you guys the link so you can check it out afterwards. Because some of it is it's pretty deep. You can do a lot with CSS and a lot of styling. There's even variables and things you can put in it. We won't really get too much into that yet, but it's pretty powerful. Um, there's even a lot of things that you used to just be able to do in JavaScript that you can do now in CSS, like logic-based stuff. So, but again, that's like real deep. Okay, basic stuff. All right. Cool. So, CSS, what is it? It's the styling, right? So it's going to be the paint on the house, the window trimmings, all the things that make the that blank HTML page actually have some style and make you want to look at it, right? That's the whole point of the CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It's cascading because you can have more than one, which is kind of rare nowadays. But you can, and it cascading means that it trickles down, right? So the style closest to the element will take precedence over whatever else. So if you had like three style sheets, the third one down is going to be closest to your body, and that's going to be what's going to take precedence. And that'll make more sense as we go. But just so you know, that's why it's called cascading. Cool. Okay, so in your style, in your styles, which can let me jump to this first, and we'll go back up there. So there's three ways you can add CSS, right? You can do inline, which is directly like in the HTML. Okay, so this will be in the body of your HTML page, wherever you put your p tag or whatever it is. You can do style equals and then whatever styles in quotes, right? So that's like in the HTML in the body. Okay, that's as close to the element as you can get because it's literally on the element. The second way you can do it, uh, yeah, I'll talk about that in a second. The second way you can do it is internal or in the head. So in the head, like where you have all your metadata and all that stuff, you can put style tags, so open and close, and then within it, you can put the styles. Okay. So this is a little bit further away from the element than the inline, right? but it's still inside the same file. Okay, it's just in the header section instead of the body section. Okay. And then the third way to do it is external. And this is the most common way to do it. And this is where you make an actual style sheet, which is a .css. So instead of like a .html to .css, it's typically either called styles.css or index.css. In this case, you can see here, it's called styles.css. And this would be in the header, or not the header, I'm sorry, in the head section, right? So not in the body. And it's actually a link tag. So that's a new tag, right? And this links to that styles.css file. Okay. And I'll show you this in VS Code here in a minute. This one has a what do we learn? This is called an attribute called rel, which is relation. So how is it? Its relation is that it's a style sheet. This is really the only time that you're going to see this rel right here, this rel. I don't think it's in anything else, and I don't think I've ever seen it anywhere else. So those are the three places you can put styles. Again, the most used is going to be your external file, and that's because you can separate it out and then use those files across multiple HTML files that you have. So if you have like 4 pages on your website and all the buttons are the same, you can style them all from this one styles.css file. Okay, instead of doing it like within each page. The next, it's rare to see the style in the head like this. It's much more common to see it either inline or external. But it is an option that you have. Inline it's fine if you have just like one specific thing that's the only thing that's going to be styled that way. Like you could do it inline. You can do it external as well though, which is better. But like that's really the only time you want to do it, or you could do an inline and it'd be okay. Because otherwise, if you had 4 different buttons and they all are the exact same, and you're using inline, then you're going to repeat your styles across all 4 buttons, right? So it's a lot more code you're writing, a lot more things could go wrong because let's say you want to keep them all the same, but then the top one you changed something on and forgot to do on the other 4 or the other 3, then they're not going to look the same anymore if you want them to be the same. Okay. So in review, external is the way to go. Internal, really, if it's just one specific thing that you want for just that. Like it says right here, it's quick fixes and overrides. Excuse me. Questions on that? Cool. Okay. Going back up here. So here's how you would style if it is in either that styles tag or in a external page. This is the format you would use. So you would have your selector. So the thing that you want to style. So if you look at the bottom here, we're going to style an H1, right? So that's the selector that we're going to grab on our HTML page. It's going to be all the H1s. Okay. The property is what do we want to style? Like what style do we want to change? So in this case, like the color or the font size. And there's a ton of these. There's border radius, all sorts of different stuff, right? So that's our property. And then the value is the value you want to give it. So for color, we got blue, right? So we want to make it blue. Or for font size, we want it to be 24 pixels. Okay. So selector, what we're going to change, or the element we're going to change, property, what we're going to change, and then value, how are we going to change it? Like, what are we going to change it to? Okay. Good on that. Okay. All right. Let's move on down here then. Cool. So different selector types. We have the element selector, which is going to be your p tag, your h1, your div, whatever HTML element that you're going to change. And then again, we have our, I don't even remember what these are called, so don't worry about it. Property and value. So our property color, we're going to make it gray. Okay. And this, again, this is going to change all the p tags. Okay. whatever element you select, it's going to be all of those in that file, right? Okay. Now, if we don't want it to be all of them, then we have a couple options. We can do a class selector, right? So that's going to be our dot, whatever our class name is. So in the HTML, you'll have class equals whatever this is, and this needs to match this up here with the dot, right? So highlight, highlight, class highlight. So this will change any element that has the class of highlight, okay? So this is a good use case for if you have those 4 buttons and you want them all to be the same style, you would give them a class name or a class. So you could say button or, like, I don't know, button on nav or whatever. You want to be pretty specific about it so you know which ones you're actually changing. So it's not just, oh, it's just button and then you have like 20 buttons. But make sure that class name, that class is the same as the dot class, right? Like these have to match. If these don't match, it's not going to change the style. Okay. And then for very much specific, so for IDs, remember you can only use one ID in a file. You should only use one ID in a file. You can do more, but you should never do that. Just one. So this is if you have a very specific style for one thing. So if it's in this case, it says main title. So main title, maybe it's your hero image, maybe you've got a custom whatever, and it's just that one thing, right? So it's just like class. It's not just like class, meaning that it has a symbol, right? So hashtag, $, and then the name for the ID, right? The ID name is going to match ID equals, and then whatever that is. So right here, main title must equal main title. Okay. So for all of a type of element, just use that element name. If you have a group of things that you want to change, give them a class. If you have one specific element you want to change, give it an ID. Okay. That's the big 3. Now there are a bunch more. There's descendant selectors, multiple selectors. We won't go into all that right now, but this is basically like descendant selectors, like drilling down into an element. So if you had a specific card and you wanted to change like a P tag within that card class, you could specify like that, right? Or you could give it an ID. Probably easier to give it an ID. Because you can have as many IDs as you want, they just can't be the same, right? They just have to be unique. Okay. Multiple selectors is where I would just use a class instead. Because this is saying, all right, I want to make H1, H2, and H3 all have this class or this style. That might get confusing. If you can just give it a class, it's less confusing. Cool. With me so far? Sweet. All right. All right, let's see. This is talking about the hierarchy. Kind of like I mentioned, the closer to the element you get, that's the style it's going to take. So for instance, if we had in our style sheet, we had a P element, right? And then in a P tag, we had a style. That style that's in that P tag is going to take precedence over the one that came from the style sheet. Make sense? Cool. So, yeah, so for this example, so let's say we're in a style sheet here, right? And so we said we want all P tags to be black, right? That's where we want it to be. But then within the HTML element, we said we're going to give it this P tag, this class of text, and this class of text is going to change the color to blue. Okay. So because this class is in this P tag, it's going to take precedence over this element that's just in that style sheet, right? Because the class is directly on the element. And this could be a style. We could say style equals color blue, right? But the point being that it's in that element, right? And so that's closer to the element because it's in it than a style sheet that's far away. Okay. And that'll make sense more when you make the mistake of trying to change a style and then it doesn't and you can't figure out why. Probably related to that. Okay. Cool. All right. Colors. So there's a couple different ways to use colors. You can use just the name. There's a ton of them. There's like way more than the 5 here. There's like light gray and like light gray with an AY and an EY. Yeah, there's a ton of them. As it says, there's like over 140 plus named colors. Okay. VS Code will try to help you out when you're putting this in. If you do color equals and then put your quotes, it'll try to spit out a bunch of different colors and you can just pick one. If that's not specific enough for you, then you can do hex colors. And there's a little hex wheel thing. Let me see if I can show you actually. None of them have color. Okay, so there's this little wheel deal right here. I don't say why I said wheel, but and see right here that is the hex color. So if you need a really specific color, you can come in here and like move it around and say, okay, here, cool, I got a hex color. So you're not saying, you know, dark green, you're saying this exact color. Okay. We'll go over that a little bit more later. Then another way to do it is the RGB colors. I think it's red, green, blue, right? Roy G. Biv, that whole thing. So these they're similar to the hex colors, but they're more specific. So this is like the actual, like, I don't know if it's pixel or like color on the spectrum or whatever that specifies what it is. Same kind of deal, I think, actually. Can you let's see if we can get it here. Yeah, you can change this to RGB. So you can actually get it right here with RGB. The cool thing that RGB adds for you is this A value. And the A is the opacity. I don't know why it's A, but it is. But this is how transparent it is, right? So if it's a 0, you can see right through it, right? If it's a 1, it's going to be solid. And then anything in between. So if you want it, it's a pretty cool effect to kind of have something that's a little transparent, you know? So that's pretty fun. Okay. And then HSL, I've never used. It's hue, saturation, lightness. I think you got to really be deep into design to even know what that means. So just, it's there. If you ever want to get deep into that, there it is. Questions on that? Pretty good. Cool. There is a tool or an extension on Chrome. I have it here, Colorzilla, and there's a bunch of them. But basically, you can use this to use a little eyedropper and drop on a color, and it'll get you that hex value or RGB value. So if you're like, oh, I really like this color, I wonder what the color is, you can use that. It's pretty cool. Okay. Units. Okay, so there's several different ways to specify the unit that you want something to be. So how big it is or how small it is. There's absolute units and relative units. So absolute is like, it's going to be that on all pages, right? Like all page sizes. So pixels are the most common, right? So if you say, okay, I want this image to have a width of 200 pixels, it's going to be 200 pixels everywhere, whether you're on a mobile screen, whether you're on a giant TV desktop, whatever, 200 pixels. Points are the same way. I think there's not pixels. Oh, you can use inches. I didn't even know that. Well, that's cool. Yeah. So there you go. Learn something new. Yeah. So initially, I made this mistake all the time. I would just give everything pixel, right? So I'm like, oh, it'll be fine. And then I was like, let me shrink my screen, and then everything's not fine. So relative units is more what you should use, especially because I mentioned this, I think, last time. We want to try to think about mobile first as we get down the road, because you're going to go and you're going to develop a really cool desktop sized website, and you're going to want to show it to your friends, and they're going to pull out their phone, and it's going to look like horrible, right? Because it was not designed for that little screen. So in the world of mobile phones and everything else, like mobile first, so it's going to look good, and then it will grow. And we'll get into Bootstrap next week, which will really show you a great way to develop that way first. Cool. So speaking of relative units, EM and REM are, I think, probably the most, well, what I use REM the most. And they're basically like pixels, but relative to whatever they're inside, right? So whatever their parent is like 20 pixels, and you give it one REM. I don't know the math, but it's relative to that 20 pixels or whatever. So it'll keep it looking good no matter where you go. I'm sure you can deep dive into that, and there's probably a lot more about it. Percentages, same kind of deal. It's going to be a percentage. So it may be easier to picture that, right? If you're like, okay, here's my image and I want it to be 10% of that, you could probably be like, oh, okay, it's going to be that big or whatever. And really, this is all experimentation, right? As you go through, you're going to change these, see how it looks, and figure out, kind of what you want. View width and view height. So they're talking about the viewport. So this whole, like the whole screen, oh, you're over here. Okay. Yep. There we go. The whole screen is your viewport, right? So when you're talking about viewport width, you're talking about the width of your screen, of your viewport. And then height, of course, would be the other way. So that's good if, let's say you want a page that you have, so a bunch of landing pages will have like a section on the page, and then as you go down, it's like it skips to a whole new section, So it'll be like that section will be specified for a viewport height. So that way it takes up exactly like the screen, and then the next section will be like the next part of the screen. That makes sense. Okay. Yep. I think that's it on there. There's some examples. Okay. Box model. So the box model is your bread and butter, right? Like this is what's going to really explain to you and show you how you're changing things and how you can change things. And I don't know if we talked about developer or the dev tools in Chrome. But so to open this up, you can right click, go to inspect, or you can hit F12. But this is your page, right? So within the elements tab here, if you go to the bottom, you have a box model. Okay. And so what this is everything is a box, right? And this shows what surrounds the box. So, for example, let's look at, you can click this little arrow deal right here, and then come over here and kind of hover over an element or a section, and it's going to show you the box around it as well. So for this one, for example, our content is going to be the very middle of the box, and it's going to take up however much room the content takes up. And then outside of it, the green is going to be the padding, okay? And then outside of the padding is the border, and outside of the border is the margin, okay? So padding is the space around the content within the border, okay? And then margin is the space around the border that separates it from other elements, okay? And you can see that the border is, you can't see me pointing at my screen, but the border is there, right? That kind of gold, can you see that kind of goldish yellow going around it? Okay. So with the padding, if we go in, you can see that's inside the border, but separating it from the content area. Okay. And then if we go back to the border and we go up to margin, You can see that's outside the border, separating it from, especially if you look down here at this guy, you can see it separates it from the bottom one. Okay. I cannot tell you how many times I've been trying to change the padding when I should have been changing the margin, or vice versa. See, Derek's nodding, he knows. It is, yeah. You're like, what? Come on, move. And it's not moving. So if you get into that, just know, yeah, try the other one, you know. So, but yeah, that box model, anytime, like when you're designing, open up this and get this guy going. It's gonna help you out so much. Okay, questions on that? We will definitely go over that again later on as we're designing. Okay, I'm going kind of fast because there is a lot of this, so definitely stop me if you got questions. Okay, and this will be recorded, so you can watch it later if you need to. All right, let's see. I think we covered that. This is talking about calculating total width, and this is basically the idea of just all of this, right? So we got like our margin is 10, border is 1, padding is 15. So this is, what is that, 26? So 26, yeah, pixels. So it's like 26 pixels away, right? Do I need to know it's 26 pixels away? Probably not. But that's how you would calculate exactly how far away it is. When I'm probably going to be like, all right, it's too close. Give me 4 margin or whatever, you know, until it looks good. Or I'm going to just tell ChatGPT, hey, make this thing look good. Okay. Border box. So box sizing is what's it called? I should remember these. Property. Okay. Where'd it go? Box sizing. Yep. Yeah, so box sizing. So border box is the value that you give it. And this is I don't know what it's called. Well, it's a reset. Okay, so it basically it tells the page we're going to use this very specific like default value, and that way everything within it looks the way it should relative to that. And the reason is because all browsers have their own kind of defaults. So you could have something perfectly beautiful on Chrome if somebody opens it in Firefox, or if they use an Edge for whatever reason. It may not look as good if you didn't use a reset, basically, is the reason. So yeah, so that's what border box does. It gives it a nice reset. So you would probably go like put your body selector here to select like your whole body and just do box sizing border box. And then the whole page will be reset. Okay, and we will go into that later, but yeah. Or you just, just develop for Chrome and say forget everybody else. Doesn't matter. Probably can't do that, but yeah. All right. Margin collapse. That's just talking about, so if you have two margins like fighting each other, I think the bigger one wins. They don't add together, which is kind of weird. You would think, like it says, you would think if you had two boxes next to each other and one's got 20 and one's got 30, you would just have 50, right? Makes sense. But it doesn't work that way. The 30 would actually win. So it would just have 30 in between it. And I have no idea why that is, but that's how it is. Okay. We'll just touch on pseudo classes real quick. Again, you can go super deep into CSS and do all sorts of crazy stuff. So these, for example, are probably, yeah, these right here are the most used. Beyond this, you're probably not going to use the other ones, especially not in the beginning. So these are for A tags or anchor tags. So you can style it based on the action, basically. So on a hover, so if I'm hovering over a an anchor tag, typically it's going to turn blue, right? Isn't that the color like typically hover over? So you can change that. If you do this A with the hover pseudo class, you could change it to red or whatever. You could make it not change color at all. The same with active. It's active is like you're actually clicking on it. Visited meaning that you've already clicked on it. And link is unvisited. So it's how it is whenever it's just sitting there. Again, with same thing with hover and focus. Hover would be you're just hovering over it. Focus would be you're actually this is for an input. So like you're actually clicked into the input. Okay. And again, those are the most common, but there's a ton more, so many more. We won't go over that because it's way too deep. This same thing. Okay, forms, let's see. Okay, this is just talking about how forms themselves, you have to think about the usability of the form. So like you wouldn't want to style an input like completely black background with black text, right? Because they're not gonna be able to see what they're typing in. So just in a form, really keep in mind that styling because it needs to be usable, right? Okay. Done. This is just talking about buttons, all the different types you can give. You can change the cursor, the background color, all that good stuff. And then the pseudo classes like the hover and the active. Done. Okay. Okay. And then this, so the rest of this is just kind of getting into specific styles for different elements. So for text and font, you have like font families. So like if it's Arial or sans serif, font size, font weight, you can check out all that stuff. Same with background and border. Display is always fun. So with display, you can put it to display none, so it's not going to show up at all. That's helpful. There's something called a honeypot. And so if you have a login page, sometimes you'll add a honeypot, or if you have a form, and you can use that to look for bots, basically. And so it'll be something that you pass like to your backend that the bot wouldn't have access to, and you'd verify that it's there. And if it's not, then you know it was probably a bot. So other than that, you would, I can't think of a different reason for display none. Maybe if it's like a toggle. So maybe it only displays if like after they fill out the form, maybe you're going to show a message say, hey, you successfully filled out the form or whatever. So you would put that to none, and then when it gets filled, the form gets filled, you can put display block instead. Which block is so like a paragraph is a block element, right? We talked about that. So if that would be if you want to show it, or I guess you could do display. No, yeah, block. Yeah, block. Block's good. And then also with the inline, so remember inline is like a span, so it only takes up the amount of room that that the like whatever needs, and then block is like the whole thing. So inline block, you can change that with this. So you could have a span and you could give it display block, and then it would take up the whole page instead of just the little inline that it had. Cool. The others don't really have to worry about right now. And this is talking about that normal or the reset that I was talking about earlier. So just so you make sure it looks the same on all different types of browsers. Okay. Now, this is talking about the dev tools, which we got on the right here. And again, to get to it, you can do right click and inspect or F12. We have our elements tab, so you can see on some of these elements, like it has a style tag here. And so you can see it has the background, the padding, like the inline styles, right? let's see what else we got here. And then it talks about the box model, which is at the very bottom of the bottom part here, down here. Super helpful. And then in this section, you can also see like the body has all of these styles on it, and you can see what they look like and what they do. So if we like click that off, you see how everything kind of moved. You can see what it's going to look like. And then you can go in here and write styling in here. So if we wanted to like see what the background color would look like in pink, you can just change that right there, and you can see it line up or show up. We could do salmon. That's pretty gross. But this is a really good way to just kind of prototype, like, hey, I want to see what's this button going to look like if I have these styles. Instead of going into your code and writing it all out, you can just come right here and just put it right here. And if you want to have a lot of fun, you can just break other sites. So if I go to Google here, then I could say, hold this down, that I don't want it to be Google anymore, and I can just delete Google, right? So now it's done. So everyone in the world will not see Google. No, I'm just kidding. Just right here on this page. But it's pretty fun to do. That's a fun trick for like school kids. So they're like, what? Where'd it go? Once you refresh, though, it comes back. Okay, back over here. Okay. This is just some common issues. Cool. Like I said, I'll put this in the channel so you guys can take a closer look at it. But for now, I'm going to open up VS Code. We'll write some styles. Okay, index. I'm going to turn my light on real quick. Just a second. Whew, it's so dark. Okay. Oops. Okay, index 2.html. All right, so let's make a page here. Let me just I'll just put this in here. Okay. All right, so we got a blank page here, right? It's pretty ugly. So if we want to, let's say we want to, let's see if there's anything around there. Okay. So this is our H2, right? Okay. So this guy. So let's say we want to give this like a border, right? We can go into our code here. So we could start inline, right? So that's going to be closest to the element. So we could go to the H2 here. Make that a little bigger. And we could do style equals, and then some quotes. And then we're going to have so we already have our selector, right? Our H2's over there. So now we need our, what's it called? I forgot what it's called. Value. Let's see. Property. Okay, property. I'm going to forget that again. Okay. So our property would be back, and see how it's trying to help me out. It's going to offer all sorts of help to you. So we'll say background color, and then you see it put the colon there. So you got to put the property. Is that right? Yeah. And then the value. So let's say we want to make it pink is cool. Okay. So it's going to be pink. When you have this little box here, you can hover over it and do the same thing we were doing in the dev tools. So we could, I don't know why it's off my page over there, but oh, I changed to an HSL. That was weird. Oh, that's cool. You can like click through that. What is all of this? Okay, that's crazy. Okay, so just go back to pink. Could be weird. Okay. All right, cool. So now if we look at our page, we have this pink background, right? That's cool. So if we want it to be further away, I'm not going to do the style in the head because that's really just not used very often. So just don't use it. Either do inline or a style sheet, preferably a style sheet, which we're going to make right now. So over here in my folder structure, we will just add, I'm going to call it styles.css. Okay. There is no boilerplate anything you need, like with the HTML page, like all this jazz. There's none of this. You just start writing your styles. So to do that, you're gonna let's say the body, right? We want to change, well, let's do the one we were doing. So H2, so our selector, right? And our curly brackets, I'm gonna hit enter. And then our property, which was background color. And then has our colon, just like we had inline. And then we'll put pink and then semicolon. Okay. So this is going to change all the H2s on the page to pink, background color of pink. However, it's not going to do anything yet because we haven't brought it into the page, right? So if you remember back here, we had to have this link tag in our head to actually bring it over. I don't want to tell you how many times I forgot to do this and wondered why my styles were not working. So if your styles aren't working, that's the first thing to check, is make sure you're actually relating it, like putting it together. Okay. I'm just going to copy this. Take it over here. So in the head, typically at the bottom, it doesn't have to be, but that's typically where you put it, or you can put it. And so yeah, it's just link, and then relationship is this, it's a style sheet. And then this is the path to the style sheet. Okay. In this case, this is perfect because it's on the same row as my HTML document. If it was in like a styles folder or anything, then you would need to get there, right? So we would have to do, like, let's say, I'll just put in one real quick. Styles. Okay. So if it's in there, then this wouldn't get there because it's no longer on the same level, right? It's inside the folder. So we would have to do /, which is our current route, or our current route, right? So it's where we are. And then we would need to go into that styles folder. So styles, and it's trying to help us out here. And then /styles.css, right? And that's what's going to get us there. And if you right click and do copy relative path, I'm just going to paste it there so you can see it. Didn't need the day 3 part, but that's the same thing that we put there, right? So, yeah. So make sure you're pointing to the right spot. So now we change, so we can get rid of this inline for just a second. Okay. So now any H2 should get this style, and the background should be pink. Let me check. I'm going to change the blue so we can see that it actually changed. Okay, so it's blue, right? So now, if we put that style back in the H2, so the H2 is pink, or the inline is pink, and the style sheet is blue, what's the background color going to be? Pink?
Pink?
I
Is
see
it going
Laura
to be?
saying pink. Yeah.
Yeah, I think pink.
Okay. Pink, right? Because the closer to the element you are, that's what's going to take over. Okay. Or that's what's going to win. Probably a better word than win, but cool. One caveat I did want to throw in, when you do the link in the head, if you have other style sheets for some reason, the one at the bottom, the one closest to the body is going to win. Okay. So when we get to Bootstrap, don't worry about Bootstrap right now, but that's another where we have to bring in a link tag like this. We want to make sure that our style sheet is at the bottom of the head because our style should win over whatever else we're bringing in. Okay. And that'll make more sense when we get there. Just keep that in the back of your mind somewhere. Okay, cool. So now over here. Okay, so let's see. Let me put 47. How many P tags we got? I'm gonna duplicate this. Okay, so we have a bunch of paragraphs now, right? So if I wanted to change the font on all these paragraphs, how would I do that?
You would just make a style for the P tag, right? Like in the CSS.
So in here, tell me what
Yeah.
to write.
P curly bracket, and I guess it would be color, and then whatever color. I'm not sure if it should be more than just color,
For the font
but
size?
I don't know why I thought you said color.
I'm probably messing with it.
Okay, well then it would be size or font size, and then I don't know, 20 pixels.
Okay. I was hoping it wouldn't fix that for me, that colon, but it did. So anyway, yeah, you do colon and then 20 pixels and semicolon. One thing to note, if you do inline, you'll notice that let's see, that we do have that semicolon on the end in the inline style as well. And that's important. So if you do more than one, so if we did, let's say we want to change the font size here, let's say 60 pixels. They are going to separate by that semicolon. So it's kind of weird seeing it just in the middle of the thing there, but definitely something to keep in mind. Okay, so let's see if those, yep, cool. So they all moved, or they all grew. Okay. So let's say we wanted to, okay, this has a class of example box. If we want to give that a styling from the style sheet, what would we do?
Just example dash box
Uh,
curly bracket.
Start it with a period.
Yep, gotta have that period. Because this is going to do nothing. But the period tells it it's a class.
Okay.
Cool. And then what did I say? We'll just change the color to gray for funsies. I don't know if that'll do anything. Oh, okay, cool. So all those are gray. Are all those in the sample box? I don't know what. I'm gonna get rid of this. It's being crazy. Oh, okay. Use single page. Okay, cool. So turn that one gray there. Did we turn these gray? Oh, okay. Yep. So example box here and example box here. So something to keep in mind, know where your classes are, because I didn't even realize these were going to change. So those changed too. All right. So same thing. Let's do an ID. Let me just add another p tag. I have an ID. Okay, so if I want to give this an ID and then change the style based on that ID, what do I do?
In the open tag, start with, the space and ID equal open quotes in the name.
Okay. We'll just say test ID. Okay, then what?
Go to the CSS file and do # test ID
Hmm.
in the
Okay.
open quote.
Cool. Say font family. Oh, nope. Oh, you're not being helpful. Oh, look at all these crazy. Okay. I don't care. How about this guy? Whoa. I guess something to point out. So font families, not all browsers support the same font families. So the reason they put so many is for fallbacks. So in case this browser doesn't support whatever that is, it's going to look for this one and then so on and so on and so on until it gets back to sans serif, which is sans serif, I think, and serif maybe might be the defaults on all browsers. If not, it's just sans serif. But that's the reason there's so many, is they're just trying to make it look the way they want it to look until it fails. Okay, so you can't see it because it's behind this weird little thing. Oh, there we go. So see how, yeah, that font is definitely a little bit different than everything else. And that's just affecting where we have that ID, right? Okay. All right, that was a lot, really fast. I know. Our time is already almost up. Questions? All good?
I have one
Yeah.
on the CSS file. Does it matter in what order you put things as long as you're saying, what it is? Like if you said for some reason you decided you wanted to, manipulate your H1 element or whatever, and you just kind of jammed it in there like between P and example box or whatever. Like, can you just kind of put them in any old place, or do you kind of have to follow your code?
It does not have to follow the code, but it does need to follow, it cascades, right? So if I were to put another P one down
Uh-huh.
here,
Uh-huh.
this one's gonna win. This one's gonna get
Oh,
ignored.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you could definitely put your H1 under your H2, doesn't matter. Yeah, all that matters is that cascading effect. So this bottom one will override this top one.
Is it probably kind of, I'm guessing it's probably best practice to sort of follow in order. Is that true or not really?
I think in the beginning you definitely can, but once you get into like a normal size code base, it's gonna be impossible. Because
Okay.
you're gonna have like 13 plus different HTML files or whatever, especially once you get into React and stuff. Yeah, you just can't do it.
Okay.
And honestly, once you get deep into that, and Derek will go into this, like sometimes inline is just the way to go sometimes when it gets like real deep in there.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yep. But yeah, definitely in one CSS file, like you wouldn't want multiple ones for P. Like that just wouldn't make sense, right? Because this is going to affect all of your paragraph tags anyway. So
I have
anything
a
else?
question.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I was just looking at random websites, CSS files, and there was a couple of them that I saw that had an asterisk and then a curly bracket.
Mhm.
I saw that multiple times. Like, what is that for? What does
Yep.
that mean?
Asterisk means
Yes.
everything.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought, but
Yep.
I just
That's a
wanted to
good
make
thing.
sure.
Yeah, good thing to bring up. This is a lot of times you'll see resets done this way. And so it'll say everything. I don't know if you can do box sizing, border box with this. I guess we can find out. See what that. So you don't really notice any difference because it's just the default of the page. But like, let's say you wanted all of your pages to have a black background, then you could go and you could do, well, no, you wouldn't want to do that because that's gonna be everything. You would do like a body and then black background. Oh, I don't know. Derek, can you think of a reason why you would do that?
One thing I think I would think of would be like variables possibly. Like well, no, I see that in the root a lot. Um yeah, maybe if you were just trying to, I rarely ever see it, but it might
Okay.
be something that's done like if you're seeing it like on a uh website CSS, it might be something that's done on like compile or something. But I've never actually used it, so I'm not
Yeah.
too sure like use cases.
I
What
know
I'm
like it,
seeing, oh, sorry, I was just gonna say
no,
what I'm
go ahead.
seeing looking at like one of the files I was looking at is it's like padding and box sizing
Hmm.
and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think mostly it's used for resets if you're gonna like specify. And you can if you Google like CSS resets, you'll get like a ton of them. Um, and some are real specific, some are just like, hey, let's just forget everything and just start from scratch. So, but yeah, I think besides resets, yeah, it's I don't really know why you would use it. So, but that is a good thing to know that that means all because that'll come up again as we get down the road. Anything else? All good. Okay. Real quick, we have the same as last week. We got a debug exercise for you, and I'll put these links in the chat. Same kind of thing, broken code. Try to fix it, do your thing, and it's got the answers down there. And then a read along or read the code as well and answer questions. Cool. This is the first time I'm doing these, so let me know if y'all like this little kind of like after Wednesday brain teaser thing. Um, so I can either do it or not do it. Yeah, so I'll put all three of these links in there, and yeah, I think that's it. Unless anybody's got any last questions or anything. Oh, yeah. And if y'all do need help throughout the week, like definitely reach out, please. We're more than willing to jump on a call or a huddle or whatever, and make sure you're tracking and moving along. Well, if nothing else, I think that's our time for today. We'll see y'all virtually on Saturday. Later.
Bye.
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 Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.